Good morning, good day, and good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all races, ages, genders, sexual orientations, religions, etc. I'm late to the party, but I'm still doing this. And I must say, it feels good to be an Eagles fan. I mean, it's always been good to be an Eagles fan, but especially because of more recent events. In case you've been living under a rock, or you're new to the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles became Super Bowl champions for the second time in franchise history on the 9th of February, 2025. Through constant doubt, hate, and criticism from football fans and analysts alike, they were able to accomplish what many said or thought they couldn't. With this accomplishment, one may ask, how did the Philadelphia Eagles get to this point? And what did they do to win it all? Well, it all started on the 16th of January, 2024, when the Philadelphia Eagles lost their final game of the 2023 to 2024 season to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a 32-9 blowout loss. The Eagles, who were 10-1 7 weeks prior, lost 6 of their last 7 games, in what many considered to be one of, if not the greatest regular season collapse in NFL history. Following the team's elimination from the playoffs, offensive coordinator Brian Johnson and defensive coordinators Sean Desai and Matt Patricia were all fired within a week of the team's final game. To make matters worse, both Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox retired from the NFL, having spent 13 and 12 seasons with the Eagles, respectively. The season would end in Super Bowl 58 with the San Francisco 49ers facing off against the Kansas City Chiefs in a rematch from Super Bowl 54. The Chiefs would win the game in overtime with a score of 25-22, becoming the first back-to-back champions since the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 38 and 39, which also involved the Eagles. With that victory, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs began their quest to become the first Super Bowl era team to win 3 in a row in what was dubbed the three-peat. On the 27th of January, 2024, the Philadelphia Eagles hired Vic Fangio, who was previously tied to the Eagles in their 2022 season, though he was never officially hired for a position. A week later, the Eagles will hire former Cowboys quarterback and coach Kellen Moore. The team will make notable additions to their roster, including linebacker Zach Bond, wide receiver Jahan Dotson, returning safety Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and what many consider to be the missing piece the Eagles needed and the most foolish mistake made by their rival team, the New York Giants, running back Saquon Barkley. The Eagles also managed to extend both wide receivers Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown and kicker Jake Elliott. Those additions may seem impressive enough, but not to the Eagles. During the 2024 draft, the team managed to draft cornerbacks Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, 2 highly sought-after defensive players that had many scratching their heads on how the Eagles are able to get them. The team are going to their training camp with hope for the future to get the horrendous taste of the great collapse of 2023 out their mouth. A notable accomplishment during training was Hurts' interception record, which he made 305 passes without an interception. The defensive player who intercepted him was cornerback Darius Big Play Slay. In the preseason games, the Eagles would finish 2-1, having defeated the Baltimore Ravens and New England Patriots and falling to the Minnesota Vikings. A notable highlight was quarterback Tanner McKee, who many thought should have been the backup to Hurts, over quarterback Kenny Pickett. Following the final game of the preseason, the Eagles were set to embark on their journey of redemption. Going into the first game of the season against the Green Bay Packers, many had doubts about how the Eagles were going to be, with their collapse being the subject of their criticism going into the season. The two teams would play the first NFL game in Brazil, with the Eagles being the home team. Neither team were allowed to wear green due to the Brazilian soccer club Corinthians' dislike of anything green. There were even talks of gang-related activity being the reasons for the ban of green, but nonetheless, the NFL decided to send 2 teams who wear green to an area where green was not allowed. The Packers would start off with the ball and move quick with it. Their series would come to an end on 3rd and 6 deep pass to wide receiver Christian Watson, but was defended by Mitchell, leading to a punt back to the Eagles. Hurts and the Eagles offense would take the field, seeking to redeem themselves from the previous season. Following an incomplete pass to A.J. Brown, Hurts would throw a deep pass to Devontae Smith, but was intercepted by safety Xavier McKinney. With the gift of an interception, Love would get the Packers offense to the Eagles 13 before setting up for a 31-yard field goal from kicker Braden Narvson, putting the Packers up 3 points. Hurts and the offense would again take the field, but an ill-timed snap of the ball led to Hurts fumbling the ball and defensive tackle Devontae Wyatt recovering the ball. With another gift of a turnover, Love would again get the Packers offense close to the goal line, but not enough for a touchdown. Narvson would kick a 23-yard field goal to put the Packers up by 6. The Eagles will hold on to the ball until the end of the first quarter in a score of 6-0. Hurts would get the offense rolling, with passes to tight end Dallas Goedert and runs from Barkley. This drive culminated in a deep pass from Hurts to Barkley in the end zone for Barkley's first touchdown as an Eagle. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead by 1. Love and the Packers offense would not stay behind long as running back Emmanuel Wilson gave light to the offense. This drive ended with a pass to wide receiver Jaden Reed for a touchdown. Following an offsides penalty on defensive tackle Jalen Carter during the extra point kick, the Packers elected to attempt a 2-point conversion, which would fail. Hurts and the Eagles offense would get back in rhythm with passes to A.J. Brown and Smith and runs from Barkley. Barkley would continue to shine as he scored his second touchdown of the game with an 11-yard run. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles back in the lead by 2 points. Love would continue to keep pace with the Eagles offense with another touchdown by Reed on a 70-yard deep pass and run. Narvson's kick put the Packers back in the lead by 5 points. With 5 minutes remaining in the first half, Hurts would get the offense moving downfield, but would come up short of a touchdown. This led to an Elliott 38-yard field goal, which put the Eagles behind by 2 points. The first half would end in a score of 19-17. The third quarter would start off hot as Hurts would throw a deep pass to A.J. Brown, who would run into the end zone on a 67-yard touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles back in the lead by 5 points. Love and the Packers offense would get back on the field and move downfield with penalties on the defense and a 29-yard pass to tight end Tucker Kraft. Love would pass to Watson for his first touchdown of the game. Narvson's extra point put the Packers in the lead by 2 points. Both teams would exchange punts for the next 3 drives. On the Packers' possession following the Eagles' punt, Love would throw a pass intended for tight end Luke Musgrave, but was intercepted by safety Reed Blankenship. With the gift of the interception, the Eagles sought to capitalize on the mistake. With Barkley pushing towards the end zone, he would get his third touchdown of the game on a 2-yard run. Elliott's extra point would put the Eagles back in the lead by 5 points. Love and the Packers offense would respond back with running back Josh Jacobs. They would come up short of a touchdown, and Narvson's field goal attempt would be no good as the ball would hit the right upright, keeping the game at 5 points. The Eagles would hold on to the ball until the end of the third quarter with a score of 31-26. In the final quarter of the game, Hurts would be intercepted by cornerback Jair Alexander in a pass that was intended for A.J. Brown in what could have been a touchdown. With another gift of a turnover, Love would march the offense downfield with Jacobs and Reed having the biggest plays. Though they did not score a touchdown, Narvson would kick a 26-yard field goal to put the Packers behind by 2 points. Hurts and the Eagles offense sought to kill as much time as possible, with himself and Barkley running and converting on crucial plays. They attempted to score on their controversial but effective play, the tush push, but Hurts would fumble the ball, with Barkley recovering. This led to Elliott kicking a 21-yard field goal to put the Eagles ahead 5 points. With less than 30 seconds remaining in the game, Love sought to mount a comeback. He would unfortunately suffer an injury on one of the plays. Quarterback Malik Willis would take over with 3 seconds remaining. The game would end with Willis being sacked by Bond, with the final score of 34-29. Though Hurts had a rocky start, with fumbles and interceptions, he showed signs of improvement from the previous season. Additionally, the Eagles' defense showed grit in their debut. Specifically, rookie cornerback Quinyon Mitchell, as he prevented Watson from completing passes going his way. Lastly, Saquon Barkley made a significant impact on the game as he scored 3 touchdowns in his debut a feat not matched since Terrell Owens in 2004. He won the Week 1 NFC Offensive Player of the Week award. Week 2 saw the Eagles face off against the Atlanta Falcons in their home stadium. The Kirk Cousins-led Falcons team sought to rebound from a loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Eagles sought to continue their streak of redemption. They would be without A.J. Brown as he suffered a hamstring injury late in the fourth quarter of the Packers game. In the first quarter of the game, both teams would start off slow as neither team were able to gain an advantage over the other. The results of their drives would either result in a punt or a turnover on downs. The first quarter would end with the Falcons having possession, tied at 0-0. The second quarter saw the Falcons get into rhythm as running backs Tyler Algier and Brian Robinson got the offense moving. They stopped short of a touchdown, leading to kicker Younghoe Koo kicking the field goal to put the first points of the game on the board. Hurts and the Eagles offense would respond back with passes to Smith and tight end Dallas Goedert and runs from Barkley. Hurts would throw to Smith for the first touchdown of the game. Elliott would kick an extra point to put the Eagles ahead by 4 points. Cousins would lead the Falcons offense downfield with wide receiver Ray McCloud, Robinson, and tight end Kyle Pitts. They would stop short in the red zone, setting Koo up for a field goal. The kick was good, putting the Falcons behind by 1 point. The second quarter would end with a Hurts kneel to run the final seconds out with the Eagles up 7-6. The third quarter would begin with Cousins leading the Falcons downfield with passes to Robinson and runs from Robinson and Algier. Following an 8-yard sack, Koo would kick a 34-yard field goal to put the Falcons ahead by 2 points. Hurts and the offense would follow a similar pattern, leading to Elliott kicking a 29-yard field goal to put the Eagles back in the lead by 1. Cousins would respond back, passing to wide receiver Drake London and McCloud. Cousins would then throw a deep pass to wide receiver Darnell Mooney for a 41-yard touchdown. They would go for a 2-point conversion, which would fail, though the Falcons were up 5 points. The Eagles would hold on to the ball until the end of the third quarter with a score of 15-10. In the final quarter of the game, Hurts would lead the offense downfield, leading to a tush push into the end zone. They would go for a 2-point conversion, which was good, putting the Eagles up 3 points. Cousins would attempt to respond back to the touchdown, but would fall short after a failed fourth down conversion, turning the ball back to the Eagles. With just over 5.5 minutes left in the game, the Eagles sought to milk the clock as much as possible and scored a touchdown. While the former did happen, the Eagles would come up short of a first down when Hurts threw a pass to Barkley in what would have been a game-sealing fresh set of downs and a possible touchdown, but was dropped. This set Elliott up for a field goal, which was good, increasing the Eagles' lead by 6. With just over a minute and a half left in the game, many fans felt the intensity of the game. With no timeouts and time to score, Cousins led the Falcons downfield, throwing deep and calculated passes to receivers. This culminated in a 7-yard touchdown pass to London to tie the game. With Koo's extra point, the Falcons led the game by 1 point. With 30 seconds remaining in the game and chances of winning being paper thin, Hurts would attempt to mount a comeback. This fell short when he attempted a deep pass to Smith, but was intercepted by safety Jesse Bates, sealing the Falcons' win and comeback with a score of 22-21. This loss greatly upset many Eagles fans, as it felt too similar to the collapse of the previous season. It was especially upsetting considering the Eagles had a near perfect chance of winning the game with just under 2 minutes left. As if the pressure wasn't high enough for the Eagles, they would face off against the New Orleans Saints in their home stadium. The Saints were coming off of 2 dominating wins against the Carolina Panthers and the Dallas Cowboys. They outscored both teams in a combined score of 91-29. On top of that, A.J. Brown would miss the game as well with a lingering hamstring injury. With how their previous game ended and the Saints on a hot streak, many speculated the Eagles would suffer a similar fate. The game would start off strong, with the Saints looking like they were going to have another game of dominance, with runs from running back Alvin Kamara and quarterback Derek Carr passing to wide receiver Chris Olave. They would come up short of a touchdown, leading to kicker Blake Grupe kicking a field goal that hit the upright, but was still good to put the Saints up by 3 points. Both teams would not make much happen after this drive, with both defenses holding their opponent's offense to negative yards. The first quarter would end in a score of 3-0. The second quarter would not fare much better for either team, though the Eagles will suffer the most with an interception, a fumble, and a turnover on downs on their drives. The Saints would punt on their possessions, with the defense making the necessary stops. The second quarter would end in a score of 3-0. The third quarter would again see both teams not gaining an advantage over the other, with the Eagles again having the worst outcomes, with long drives that resulted in turnover on downs and a blocked punt. The third quarter would end again in the score of 3-0, with the Saints leading. The final quarter of the game saw both teams turn up their intensity as the Saints would face a turnover on downs of their own. Hurts would pass to Smith, who would struggle to gain yards and was hit violently by defensive tackle Christian Boyd, leading to his exit from the game. The following play, the Eagles would respond with a Barkley 65-yard touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles in the lead by 4 points. Carr would take the Saints offense downfield, with Kamara being the highlight. They will fall short of a touchdown, leading to a groupie 38-yard field goal, putting the Saints behind by 1. With neither of his starting wide receivers, Hurts relied mostly on himself and Goddard to get downfield. This misfortune led to an Elliott 60-yard field goal attempt, which was no good. With the gift of a failed field goal attempt and in good condition to strike back, Carr and the Saints offense did just that with a pass to Olave for a 13-yard touchdown. They attempted the 2-point conversion but would fail. With less than 2 minutes remaining and overwhelming odds, Hurts and the Eagles offense would struggle and look to lose their second game in a row. This changed with Hurts passing to Goddard on a 61-yard pass. With Goddard's run bringing the much needed light to the offense, Hurts would hand the ball to Barkley for his second touchdown of the game. They would go for a 2-point conversion with another Barkley run, which was good, putting the Eagles up 3 points. With 1 minute remaining in the game, the Saints sought to pull a similar upset like the Falcons did the previous week. This would not come to fruition, as Carr would throw a deep pass intended for wide receiver Rashid Shaheed, but was picked off by Reed Blankenship to seal an Eagles win in the 15-12 game. Despite the win, the Eagles would lose Smith and right tackle Lane Johnson to concussion, and wide receiver Britton Covey to a left shoulder injury. Sirianni was also criticized for some of his coaching decisions during the game. Interesting facts: this was the first game the Eagles won in the Saints Stadium since 2007. Additionally, Hurts was also able to keep his undefeated streak against the Saints alive. The Eagles were able to escape a win from the Saints without A.J. Brown, but could they do it without Smith and other key players as well? That was the question going into the Week 4 game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This was a game that had many fans wary, as since 2021, the Buccaneers had only lost once to the Eagles in the 4 times they met. Would the Bucs make it 5? Or can the Eagles win against overwhelming odds? The game was started off hot, with quarterback Baker Mayfield carving through the defense, with wide receiver Mike Evans and running back Rachaad White. Mayfield would pass to Evans for a 2-yard touchdown. Kicker Chase McLaughlin would kick the extra point to put the Bucs up 7 points. On the Eagles' possession, they would struggle as they would come up short of a first down and punt the ball. The Bucs would capitalize on this again by picking the defense apart, with wide receiver Chris Godwin getting passes on the drive. They would again score with a 15-yard pass to wide receiver Trey Palmer. McLaughlin would kick an extra point to put the Bucs up 14 points. Both teams would punt the ball in the waning seconds of the first quarter, but on the Eagles' punt, DeJean, who replaced Covey on punt return, muffed the catch, and the ball was recovered by linebacker J.J. Russell. The Bucs would maintain the ball until the end of the first quarter in a score of 14-0. The second quarter would begin with the Bucs touchdown, with Mayfield running into the end zone. McLaughlin's kick put the Bucs up 21 points. The Eagles' offense would continue to struggle with the lack of wide receiver talent and punt the ball. The Bucs' offense would continue to pick apart the Eagles' defense, though they would stop short of a touchdown. McLaughlin would kick a 21-yard field goal to put the Bucs up 24 points. The Eagles would finally put together a successful drive, with Goddard being the main receiver. They would score their first touchdown with a short pass to wide receiver Paris Campbell. Elliott's extra point was good, putting the Eagles behind by 17 points. Neither team would score the remainder of the quarter, with a score of 24-7. The third quarter will start with some life for the Eagles, with Jalen Hurts' tush-push touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles behind by 10. The Bucs will respond back again, dissecting the Eagles' defense, leading to a touchdown from running back Bucky Irving. McLaughlin's extra point attempt was blocked by cornerback Isaiah Rodgers. Fellow cornerback Keely Ringo would pick up the ball and return the ball to the end zone for an Eagles 2-point touchdown. This celebratory redemption was stopped short on the Eagles' next possession as Hurts would attempt to pass the ball but was stripped of the ball with defensive end Ben Style recovering the ball. The Bucs would maintain the ball until the end of the third quarter in a 30-16 game. In the fourth quarter, the Bucs would score on the 52-yard field goal by McLaughlin. The Eagles would continue to suffer despite their best efforts to score. The remainder of the quarter would see both teams punting or turning over on downs. The game would end in a 33-16 embarrassment. The Eagles would go into their much-needed bye week at 2-2. The Bucs would ride high at 3-1 and increase their Hurts-era streak to 4-1. Despite missing key offensive players, many question Nick Sirianni's position as head coach due to play calling and not game planning for Hurts to throw to backup receivers. The Eagles needed to find a way to coalesce if they were to have a modicum of a chance at redeeming themselves. Following the bye week and regaining key players, the Eagles went into Week 6 back in their home stadium against the Deshaun Watson-led Cleveland Browns. They were healthy and looking for a rebound following their blowout loss 2 weeks prior. Many anticipated with how poorly run the Browns team and organization was, this would be somewhat of an easy redemption game for the Birds. The game would start off slow for both teams as they would stalemate each other both offensively and defensively, leading to both teams punting the ball. The first quarter would end in an Eagles possession in a 0-0 game. Dallas Cowboys would unfortunately miss the remainder of the game with a hamstring injury. The second quarter finally saw a team score with Smith, Hurts, and Barkley getting the ball downfield. Though short of a touchdown, Elliott would put the first points of the game on the board, putting the Eagles in the lead by 3 points. The Browns drive would stop short on their next possession, leading to a punt to the Eagles. On their next possession, Hurts would find tight end Grant Calcaterra and A.J. Brown for yards downfield. They would score the first touchdown of the game on a 22-yard A.J. Brown touchdown. Elliott's extra point attempt was good, putting the Eagles up 10 points. The Browns will respond back with Watson handing the ball to running backs Dante Foreman and Pierre Strong. Though short of a touchdown, kicker Dustin Hopkins would kick a 43-yard field goal to put the Browns behind by 7 points. The Eagles would come up short of a touchdown on their next drive as well. Elliott would attempt a field goal, but the kick was blocked by edge rusher Myles Garrett. Former Eagles safety and Super Bowl 52 ring wearer Rodney McLeod would return the ball back into the end zone to tie the game. The second quarter would end in a 10-10 game. With disappointment high against a team the caliber of the Cleveland Browns, the Eagles crowd began to chant, "Fire Nick." The Browns would attempt to continue where they left off at the start of the third quarter. They will fall short of a touchdown and attempt a field goal. Hopkins' kick was no good, missing wide right. Both teams would end their drive on a punt. On the Eagles' possession after a Browns punt, they would again come up short of a touchdown, to the displeasure of the Eagles crowd. Elliott will redeem himself on a field goal attempt to put the Eagles back in the lead by 3 points. The Browns would maintain the ball until the end of the third quarter in a 13-10 score. The Browns would tie the game up following a series of plays in the fourth quarter with Hopkins' 49-yard field goal. The Eagles would respond back with Hurts passing to A.J. Brown and Calcaterra and Barkley rushing. They would score in a short series from Hurts to Smith for a 45-yard touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead by 7. Watson would attempt to lead the Browns to a comeback with just enough time on the clock to do so. Though they were close to a touchdown, penalties were their downfall in this drive, leading to Hopkins' 31-yard field goal, putting the Browns behind by 4 points. looking to waste as much time as possible on their next possession with just under 4 minutes remaining in the game. Hurts to give the ball to Barkley and pass to wide receiver Jahan Dotson. At the 2-minute warning, Hurts would throw a deep pass to Brown that would give the Eagles the chance to ice the game and run the clock out. They would win the game in a 20-16 score. In the final seconds of the game, Sirianni would talk back to the Eagles crowd following their chance to have him fired, an action he would later regret. This was a win the Eagles needed coming off of a bye week and going into the next game against a familiar opponent. Week 7 saw the Eagles facing off against the New York Giants, the same team that traded away their star running back to a divisional opponent in favor of keeping their quarterback, Daniel Jones. With momentum on their side and Barkley looking to make a statement against his former team, the Eagles sought to continue their dominance over the Giants. The Giants would get the ball first. Both teams would end their drives with a punt, with both defenses getting the quarterback. The first quarter would end in a 0-0 tie. It was at this point the Eagles became the only team in the league to not score any points in the first quarter. The second quarter would begin how the game started, with the Giants punt. On the Eagles' next possession, Barkley would make his presence remembered with a 55-yard run. He would later score a touchdown on a 3-yard run. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles up 7 points. Jones and the Giants offense would not find an answer to respond to the touchdown, resulting in a punt. Hurts and the Eagles offense would return with backup running back Kenneth Gainwell and Calcaterra getting the ball downfield. This would lead to a 41-yard pass from Hurts to A.J. Brown for a touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles up 14 points. Both teams would exchange punts on their next drives. On the Giants' next possession following the Eagles' drive, Jones would pass to rookie wide receiver Malik Neighbors while using his legs to rush downfield. They would come up short of a touchdown, leading to a field goal by kicker Greg Joseph, putting the Giants behind 11 points. The first half would end in a score of 14-3. The third quarter would see both teams exchanging punts. On the Eagles' next possession following a Giants punt, Hurts would find A.J. Brown downfield for 15 yards and Barkley for 38. Hurts would score on a tush push, with Elliott's kick putting the Eagles ahead 18 points. The Giants again did not have an answer to the touchdown, resulting in a punt. The third quarter would end in a 21-3 score. In the final quarter of the game, Barkley would rush for 41 yards in his final play of the game, just short of his career high.
I'd rather see the young boys eat.
Gainwell would take over for run plays, leading to another Hurts tush push touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 25 points. Both teams would exchange punts until the end of the game with a final score of 28-3. Barkley rushed for 176 yards and a touchdown in his return to MetLife Stadium. He would also win his second NFC Offensive Player of the Week award. With their spirits rising with 2 wins in a row, the Eagles were ready to face off against their next challenge. The Week 8 game is one that many Eagles fans were wary of, as it was an away game against the Cincinnati Bengals. While the Eagles were on a winning streak, their history with the Bengals was one that was not in their favor. Prior to this game, not only had the Eagles not beaten the Bengals since Christmas Eve in the year 2000, they have never beaten the Bengals in their home stadium in their 14-game series. Though the Bengals were a struggling team, there was hope that their quarterback, Joe Burrow, would resurrect the team's hopes. The game would begin with Burrow making calculated and precise throws to star wide receiver Jamar Chase and runs from running back Chase Brown, brother of Sidney Brown. Their drive culminated in a touchdown from Burrow to Chase and an extra point from kicker Evan McPherson. The Bengals' 19-play drive took 10 minutes off the clock, going into the Eagles' possession. The first quarter would end in a 7-0 score, continuing the Eagles' scoreless first quarter streak. The Eagles would begin the second quarter with an Elliott 39-yard field goal to decrease their deficit to 4 points. Burrow and the Bengals offense would respond back with passes to tight ends Eric All Jr. and Mike Gesicki. They would stop short of a touchdown, leading to a McPherson 27-yard field goal, putting the Bengals up 7 points. The Eagles would punt the ball on their next possession. The Bengals would stop shy of a touchdown on their next possession. McPherson would attempt a 54-yard field goal, but would miss wide left. Hurts and the Eagles offense would drive downfield with passes to A.J. Brown and Calcaterra. Hurts would tush push into the end zone that was initially ruled short, but reversed for a touchdown. Elliott's extra point tied the game. The first half would end in a score of 10-10. The third quarter saw both teams turn up their intensity. Hurts and the Eagles offense would move downfield with passes to Smith and Calcaterra. Hurts would score his second touchdown on a 7-yard run. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles in the lead by 7. This lead would not last long as Burrow and the Bengals offense would move downfield and scoring on a Chase Brown 4-yard touchdown. McPherson's extra point tied the game up. This tie would not last long as Hurts would find A.J. Brown for a 23-yard pass. Hurts would then find Smith in the end zone for a 45-yard touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles back in the lead by 7. The Bengals offense would return to the field, but would come up short of a first down with DeJean stopping Chase on the 4th and 1, resulting in a turnover on downs. The third quarter would end in a 24-17 score. The final quarter of the game started with the Eagles field goal to put them up 10 points. Burrow would attempt to lead his team to a comeback. This was stopped short when Burrow threw a deep pass to Chase that was swatted away by Rodgers and picked off by Gardner Johnson. With the gift of their interception and momentum on their side, Barkley and Calcaterra would lead the Eagles offense downfield, resulting in a Hurts tush-push touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 17 points. The Bengals offense will have a short time on the field with Gesicki fumbling the ball from a Bond tackle. Linebacker Nakobe Dean will recover the ball. The Eagles offense will run the clock down while resting key players, leading to an Elliott 47-yard field goal. With no time for a comeback, the Bengals ran the clock out to end the game with a 37-20 loss. For the first time in 24 years, the Eagles will beat the Bengals, and for the very first time, they beat the Bengals at their home stadium. Luckily for me, this game just so happened to be the same day as my birthday, so thank you, Eagles. Week 9 saw the return of not only the only Super Bowl winning head coach in Eagles history at the time, Doug Peterson, but also the much anticipated and fan favorite Kelly Green uniform. On top of that, it was a home game. Most saw the Trevor Lawrence-led Jaguars as a low-hurdle team that the Eagles would easily defeat. The game would start with the Eagles punting the ball, with the Jags defense off to a strong start. Wide receiver Austin Trammell would get the ball, but was immediately tackled by Sidney Brown, causing a fumble. Ringo will recover the ball. With the gift of the recovered ball, Hurts would throw a deep pass to Barkley into the end zone for their first touchdown in the first quarter, finally ending their streak. Elliott's extra point would put the Eagles up 7 points. Both teams would exchange punts, leading to the end of the first quarter with a score of 7-0. The second quarter saw the Eagles seeking to increase their lead and one of the most amazing plays of the season. Hurts would throw to Barkley, who would make not one, not two, but 3 defenders miss a tackle, with the last one being hurdled over backwards before being stopped after a 14-yard gain. A few plays later, Elliott would kick a 43-yard field goal to put the Eagles up 10 points. Both teams would turn the ball over after failing on 4th down conversions, followed by them punting the ball. On the Jags' next possession, Lawrence would throw a short pass to Travis Etienne Jr. that was juggled in the air and picked off by Ballin. With the gift of the interception, Hurts and the Eagles offense moved downfield, resulting in Barkley rushing for a 19-yard touchdown. Following a defensive offside penalty on a good extra point attempt, the Eagles attempted a 2-point conversion on the tush push that would fail. The first half would end in a score of 16-0. A.J. Brown would unfortunately be out the remainder of the game with a knee injury. The third quarter started with the Jags punting the ball, following a short series. The Eagles will respond back with runs from himself and Gainwell and Dotson catching a 36-yard pass. Hurts will rush for 18 yards into the end zone for a touchdown. With another defensive penalty after a touchdown, the Eagles again attempted a 2-point conversion on a tush push, and again would fail. Lawrence will finally get the Jags offense moving, with Trammell and Etienne moving downfield. Lawrence would score the first touchdown for the Jags on a 1-yard run. They would go for a 2-point conversion, and unlike the Eagles, they would succeed, cutting their deficit to 14 points. On the Eagles' next possession, Hurts would hand the ball to Barkley, who would run for 4 yards, but was tripped and fumbled the ball, with edge rusher Trayvon Walker recovering the ball and returning it for a touchdown. The Jags would again attempt a 2-point conversion, and again would convert, decreasing their deficit to 6 points. The Eagles would turn the ball over after failing to convert on a 4th down. The third quarter would end in a 22-16 score. The fourth quarter started with the Jags punting. Hurts and Eagles offense would move downfield, with Smith being the highlight. This included a 25-yard pass on an immaculate catch for a touchdown. Thinking the third time was a charm, the Eagles again went for a 2-point conversion, and like the previous attempts, they would fail. With time on their side for a potential comeback, Lawrence would find wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. and tight end Evan Ingram downfield. Lawrence would score his second touchdown. Kicker Cam Little would kick the extra point to put the Jags behind 5 points. With a comeback possible, the Eagles offense attempted to run the clock out as much as possible. This was stopped when they were short of a first down. Trust was finally restored in Elliott to attempt a 57-yard field goal. He would miss, giving the Jags enough time to mount a comeback with just over 2 minutes remaining. Lawrence would give the ball to Ingram and Trammell, and they would get the ball moving downfield. Lawrence would throw a pass in the end zone for running back Derns Johnson, but was picked off by Dean, saving the Eagles in a 28-23 win. Despite the win, Sirianni was criticized for calling plays that left points off the board, with the Eagles being 0 for 2 on 4th down and 0 for 3 in 2-point conversions. In better light, and for obvious reasons, Saquon Barkley will win his 3rd NFC Offensive Player of the Week award. Week 10 would be a game that fans of the NFC East would look forward to, as it saw the battle of divisional rivals that most would rank as a top 10 rivalry: the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Cowboys were riddled with injuries, including their star quarterback, Dak "We Fucking Suck" Prescott, who suffered a hamstring injury in the previous week. Cooper Rush would take the helm as the team's quarterback. Additionally, the Cowboys had a lower than expected season record of 3-5. The Eagles sought to continue their winning streak by capitalizing on the weaknesses, following their close call against the Jaguars. This game would also see the thankful return of A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert. The Cowboys would get the ball first, though their series would end short, resulting in a punt. The Eagles would fare well as they would punt the ball as well. On the Cowboys' next possession, Rush would botch a snap, resulting in a fumble, with edge rusher Milton Williams recovering the ball. With the gift of the fumble, Hurts would move the Eagles' offense deeper into Dallas' territory, resulting in a tush-push touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles up 7 points. Dallas would respond back with Rush handing the ball to running back Rico Dowdle and star wide receiver CeeDee Lamb. They fell short of a touchdown, leading to a 46-yard field goal from kicker Brandon Arbery to put the Cowboys behind 4 points. On the Eagles' next possession, they would drive downfield, with A.J. Brown having a 30-yard reception. The first quarter would end in a 7-3 score. The second quarter would start not as the Eagles wanted, as Hurts would throw a pass to Goddard that would have been a touchdown, had it not been for star cornerback Trayvon Diggs intercepting the ball. Both teams would share similar misfortunes with punts and fumbles. Following the Eagles' fumble, Aubrey would kick a 23-yard field goal to put the Cowboys behind 1 point. Hurts and the Eagles' offense would respond back, driving downfield with A.J. Brown and Hurts himself. Hurts would throw a Goddard in the end zone for a touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 8 points. On the Cowboys' next possession, they would continue to struggle, leading to a punt. The second quarter would end in a 14-6 game. The third quarter will start with the Eagles getting the ball and punting following a short series. The Cowboys will follow a similar fate. The Eagles will move downfield on the next possession with Gainwell and Barkley. Hurts will throw a 5-yard pass to rookie wide receiver Johnny Wilson for a touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 15 points. The Cowboys would failed to move downfield, resulting in a punt. The Eagles will respond back with Hurts passing deep to A.J. Brown for 44 yards. Later in their series, Hurts will rush into the end zone for his second touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles up 22 points. The Cowboys' woes would continue with Rush being sacked by edge rusher Bryce Huff, forcing a fumble. Bond will recover the ball. The third quarter would end in a 28-6 score. The fourth quarter would start with Elliott kicking a 39-yard field goal to put the Eagles up 25 points. Trey Lance would take over as a quarterback for the Cowboys. In his first series, he would pass the tight end Jake Ferguson, who was hit by Bond, causing a fumble. Blankenship would recover the ball. Pickett will relieve Hurts at the quarterback position, though the offense did not move far downfield. Elliott would kick a field goal, putting the Eagles ahead 28 points. Lance would attempt to give the Cowboys a modicum of hope in scoring again and being a difference maker. But when he threw a deep pass to wide receiver Jalen Tolbert, all hopes were crushed when Garner Johnson intercepted the ball. Both teams would exchange punts, leading to the end of the game with an Eagles victory in a score of 34-6. The Eagles extended their win streak to 5 and their record to 7-2. This was their first win in Dallas since the 2017 season. The same season, they won the Super Bowl. They would also take over as the division leaders from the Washington Commanders following their loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Despite causing 2 turnovers, Hurts finished with a passer rating of 115 and became the first quarterback in NFL history with a touchdown pass, a rushing touchdown, and a 100-plus rating in 4 consecutive games. Zach Bond would win NFC Defensive Player of the Week as he recorded 2 fumbles and a fumble recovery. From one rival to the next, the Week 11 matchup saw the Eagles facing off against the Commanders, led by the hottest rookie quarterback in the league, Jaden Daniels. This game was the battle of NFC East superiority between the 2 juggernaut teams of the division. Many fans looked towards Jahan Dotson and Olamide Zaccheaus, as both wide receivers were traded to opposite teams before the regular season. This game also saw the return of longtime Eagles legend, Zach Ertz. The Eagles will start off with the ball, moving downfield and stopping short of a first down in Washington territory. Elliott would attempt a field goal, but would miss wide left. The 2 teams would exchange punts on their next possessions. On Washington's next drive, after an Eagles punt, Daniels would pass to running backs Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson Jr. to move downfield. Robinson would later score on a 1-yard touchdown. Kicker Zane Gonzalez's extra point kick put the Commanders ahead 7 points. Both teams would exchange punts into the end of the first quarter with a score of 7-0. The first time in 3 weeks the Eagles were shut out in the first quarter. The second quarter saw the Eagles moving downfield with Goddard, Barkley, and Gainwell. The offense would again come up short of a touchdown, leading to another field goal attempt by Elliott. Elliott's kick was again no good. Following a Commander's punt, the Eagles would again move downfield and fall short of a touchdown deep in Washington's territory. Elliott will redeem himself on a field goal attempt to put the Eagles behind 4 points. The second quarter would end in a score of 7-3. Washington would get the ball in the third quarter with Daniels passing to Eckler and Robinson. They would stop short of a touchdown, leading to Gonzalez kicking a field goal to put the Commanders ahead by 7 points. Hurts and the Eagles offense would move downfield with Goddard, Barkley, and himself. They would still have trouble getting into the end zone, but Elliott would kick another field goal to put the Eagles behind by 4 points again. Washington would get the ball back, but to no avail, and led to another punt back to the Eagles. The third quarter would end in the score of 10-6. The final quarter would begin with Hurts moving the Eagles offense downfield with Barkley, Gainwell, and himself. They will finally get their first touchdown of the game with a tush push into the end zone. Elliott's extra point attempt would be no good, putting the Eagles ahead by 2 points. With the score close, Daniels would attempt to lead the Commanders' offense to another touchdown, but thanks to the tough Eagles defense, they would be stopped on a crucial 4th down conversion, turning the ball back over to the Eagles. Hurts threw a deep pass to Goddard, who would catch and fumble the ball, but thanks to Calcaterra for being in the vicinity of the ball, he was able to recover it, saving the Eagles' drive. A few plays later, Barkley will rush for 23 yards into the end zone. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead by 9 points. Feeling the pressure of the game, Daniels would get the ball and attempt to throw a deep pass to wide receiver Noah Brown, but was intercepted by Blankenship. With the gift of the interception, the Eagles offense would quickly respond back with Barkley running 39 yards into the end zone for his second touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 16 points. With time running out, Daniels moved the Commanders' offense downfield using Eckler, himself, and Ertz. Daniels would pass to Ertz for a 5-yard touchdown. They would go for a 2-point conversion, with Daniels again passing to Ertz. The play was initially called incomplete, but thanks to the immaculate athleticism of the former Eagle, the play was ruled good, putting the Commanders behind 8 points. Despite this, the game would end in a score of 26-18, with the Eagles exceeding their win streak to 6. This game almost saw Hurts leave the game for a concussion when linebacker Frankie Luvu tackled him in the second quarter. The defense was making an impact in the NFL, being called the #1 defense in the league, with notable players being Reed Blankenship, Josh Sweat, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith, N'Kobe Dean, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, CJ Garner-Johnson, Zach Bond, and Big Play Slay. The Eagles would unfortunately lose Smith due to a lingering hamstring injury. Week 12 saw the Eagles facing off against the 5-5 LA Rams, a team that many fans were wary of. Not specifically because of them being a sleeper team, but because of the history of the two clubs facing off. This was the same team that took out MVP candidate Carson Wentz back in 2017 in an injury he would never mentally recover from. The greatest weakness the Rams had was its run defense. With a run-first offense, the Eagles sought to capitalize on that weakness. The defense was also looking to continue their streak of dominance. There was also the question of how the offense will respond without Smith. The game will begin with the Rams getting the ball, with veteran and Super Bowl winning quarterback Matt Stafford moving the offense downfield with running back Kyron Williams moving downfield. Williams would get the ball from Stafford and was met with a tackle from Rodgers, causing a fumble, with Dean recovering the ball. Hurts and the Eagles offense would move downfield with Barkley, Goddard, and A.J. Brown. They will fall short of a touchdown, leading to Elliott kicking a field goal to put the Eagles ahead by 3. The Rams offense will respond back with Stafford passing to Williams and wide receivers Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. Their drive will culminate in a 1-yard touchdown rush from Williams. Kicker Joshua Carty's extra point kick put the Rams ahead by 4 points. The first quarter would end in a 7-3 score. The second quarter saw both teams start by punting the ball. On the Eagles' next possession, following a Rams punt, they will move downfield with Brown, Barkley, and Gainwell. They will fall short of a touchdown in Rams territory, but Elliott would kick a field goal to put the Eagles behind by 1 point. The Rams would not gain an advantage over the Eagles' defense, forcing them to punt. On the Eagles' next possession, Hurts, Barkley, and Dotson will move the offense downfield, leading to Hurts passing to A.J. Brown for a touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead by 6 points. The Rams would punt the ball, and the Eagles would turn the ball back over to the Rams on their possessions. The second quarter would end in a score of 13-7. The third quarter will start off hot, with Barkley getting the ball and running for 70 yards for a touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 13 points. The Rams would respond back with Williams and Nacua moving the offense downfield. Stafford would pass to wide receiver DeMarcus Robinson for a 2-yard touchdown. Carty's extra point put the Rams behind 6 points. On the Eagles' next possession, Barkley and Hurts would get the offense moving downfield. Gainwell will rush for 13 yards for a touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 13 points. The Rams would get the ball back with Nacua having a 29-yard pass on a crucial 4th down. They would not score a touchdown, and Carty's field goal attempt would miss wide right. The third quarter would end in a 27-14 score. The Eagles would have the ball in the fourth quarter, falling short of a touchdown. Elliott would kick a field goal to put the Eagles ahead at 16 points. The Rams offense would not find an answer to the Eagles defense, forcing them to punt. On the Eagles' next possession, Hurts would give the ball to Barkley, who would rush for a 72-yard touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 23 points. With little to no hope of a comeback, the Rams sought to end on a high note with a touchdown, which they did with Stafford passing to Kupp on a 27-yard touchdown. They would attempt a two-point conversion, which failed. The game would end in a 37-20 score. This win increased the Eagles' streak to 7 and being the only team in the NFC East to not lose a game in the month of November. Barkley would finish the game with career-high stats and set a franchise rushing record, having rushed for 2 touchdowns and 255 yards, the most in a game in franchise history. He was putting his name out as an MVP candidate. He, again for obvious reasons, will win his 4th and final NFC Offensive Player of the Week award. With the amazing accomplishment came the curse of facing the Rams, as Brandon Graham revealed that he suffered a torn tricep and would miss the remainder of the season. Week 13 saw the Eagles facing off against a team that was a near mirror image of them, the Baltimore Ravens, led by dual threat quarterback Lamar Jackson and running back Derrick Henry. The Eagles sought to not only keep their win streak alive, but also prove who the better team was between the two highest scoring offenses in the league. Smith would again miss this game due to a lingering hamstring injury. Also missing in this game was Slay from a concussion and fullback Ben Van Sumeren from a knee injury. The game would begin with the Eagles starting slow and punting the ball. Jackson and the Ravens offense would move downfield with Henry and wide receiver Zay Flowers. They fell short of a touchdown, leading to kicker Justin Tucker to kick a field goal to put the Ravens ahead at 3 points. The Eagles would again punt the ball following a short series. Following the punt, Jackson and the Ravens offense again saw Henry and Flowers moving the ball downfield. Jackson would throw a pass to tight end Mark Andrews for a touchdown. Tucker's extra kick bounced off the left upright, putting the Ravens ahead 9 points. The Eagles would be forced to punt the ball, with the Ravens defense making a statement. The first quarter would end in a 9-0 score. The second quarter saw both teams punting the ball after a short series. On the Eagles' next possession following a Ravens punt, Dotson, Barkley, Brown, and Hurts moved the offense downfield. Hurts would pass to Goddard for their first touchdown of the game. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles behind 2 points. The Ravens offense will find themselves not having an answer against the defense, forcing them to punt. On the Eagles' next possession, Hurts found A.J. Brown and Goddard to move downfield. Hurts to score on a tush push, with Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 5 points. Jackson and the Ravens offense would move downfield, though shy of a touchdown. Tucker will redeem himself from earlier in a 50-yard field goal to put the Ravens behind by 2 points. The first half will end in a score of 14-12. The third quarter saw both teams face a series of misfortunes. The Ravens would move downfield and fall short of a touchdown. Tucker would miss a 47-yard field goal attempt. The Eagles would punt the ball on their next possession. The Ravens would again move downfield and Tucker would again miss a field goal attempt, this time from 53 yards. The Eagles would again punt the ball on their next possession. The third quarter would end in a score of 14-12. The fourth quarter began with the Ravens moving downfield, though they would punt. On the Eagles' next possession, the Eagles' offense would find success with passes to Goddard and runs from Barkley. Barkley would get the ball to run for a 25-yard touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 9 points. The Ravens would find no success on the next possession, with the highlight of the drive being a Jackson pass to Henry, who would immediately be tackled by DeJean. Impressive for a rookie to tackle a hulking athlete like Henry. On the Eagles' next possession, they would run out as much of the clock as possible with run plays from Barkley. Elliott would kick a 35-yard field goal to put the Eagles ahead 12 points. With little chance of a comeback, the Ravens offense would move downfield. Jackson would pass the tight end Isaiah Likely for a touchdown. Tucker's extra point put the Ravens behind 5 points. That game would end in a 24-29 score. The Eagles improved their record to 10-2 and beat the Ravens for the first time at their home stadium since 1978, when they were known as the Baltimore Colts. The Eagles are on the heels of the Detroit Lions, the number 1 seed in the NFC, and arguably the number 1 seed in the league at the time. The Week 14 matchup saw the Eagles facing off against the Carolina Panthers, led by quarterback and potential rising star, Bryce Young. Coming into the game as one of the worst in the league with a 3-9 record, most anticipated this would be a blowout win in favor of the Eagles. This game saw the thankful return of Devontae Smith after missing 2 games, though Goddard, Covey, Blankenship, and Sidney Brown would be out of the game. The first quarter would start off hot with a defensive showing from Gardner Johnson as he laid out rookie wide receiver Xavier Legette. Despite this, both teams would struggle to get their offenses moving, resulting in punts the majority of the quarter. The Panthers would move downfield with veteran wide receiver Adam Thielen and running back Chuba Hubbard. They will fall short of a touchdown, leading to kicker Eddie Pinheiro putting the first points of the game on the board. The first quarter would end in a score of 3-0. In the second quarter, the Eagles' offense would get on track with passes to Calcaterra and Smith. Hurts would score on a tush push, with Elliott's extra point putting the Eagles ahead 4 points. The lead would not last long as Young would find Hubbard and wide receiver David Moore. Young would pass the tight end Tommy Tremble for a touchdown. Pinheiro's extra point put the Panthers ahead 3 points. The Eagles would punt following a short series. Young would throw a pass to Thielen that was intercepted by Gardner Johnson. With the gift of the interception, Hurts and the Eagles' offense would move downfield, culminating in a pass to Smith for a touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 4 points. The first half would end in a score of 14-10. The third quarter would begin with the continuation of the Eagles' struggles, including a missed field goal from Elliott from 53 yards. The Panthers would respond back with Young passing to Thielen and Hubbard. Hubbard was scoring a 1-yard touchdown. Pinheiro's kick was no good, putting the Panthers ahead 2 points. The third quarter would end in a score of 16-14. The fourth quarter began with Calcaterra scoring his first touchdown of his career. Following a penalty, the Eagles would convert on the 2-point attempt, putting the Eagles ahead 6 points. Both teams would find a series of close calls and misfortunes on their final drives. The Panthers came close to pulling an upset, but a dropped pass from Legette and Slade deflecting a pass to Thielen sealed an Eagles win in a score of 22-16. The Eagles won their 9th game in a row. Barkley would become the single-season rushing leader, having surpassed Eagles legend LaShawn McCoy, and most importantly, clinching their playoff spot for the 4th time in a row, following the losses of the Falcons and Cardinals. On a personal note, I hope Young is able to rebound from 2 bad seasons and do great in the NFL, whether it's with the Panthers or it's with another team. Week 15 saw the Battle of Pennsylvania when the Eagles faced off against the Pittsburgh Steelers, led by a quarterback the Eagles have never won against since he entered the league, Russell Wilson. Most anticipated the Eagles streak to end with Wilson as a quarterback, having replaced Justin Fields since Week 7 and winning 6 of their last 7 games. The Eagles thought to have a game similar to the one they had against the Steelers 2 years prior. The Steelers would get the ball first to begin the game, but would punt after a short 3-and-out. Hurts and the Eagles offense would move downfield, but stopped short of a touchdown, resulting in a field goal to put them ahead 3 points. The Steelers would again punt after a 3-and-out. The Eagles would again move downfield on their next possession, but Hurts would scramble for some yards before being tackled by star linebacker TJ Watt. This tackle caused a fumble, with cornerback Beanie Bishop recovering the ball. Despite the gift of the turnover, the Steelers would yet again go 3-and-out. On the punt, DeJean would get the ball and run for a few yards before being tackled by linebacker Mark Robinson, causing a fumble. Fellow linebacker Nick Herbig would recover the ball. With the gift of another fumble recovery and close to a touchdown, the Steelers offense would find no success, except for a field goal from kicker Chris Boswell to tie the game up. Hurts and the Eagles offense will respond back by moving down the field with A.J. Brown and Barkley. Hurts would pass to Brown for a 5-yard touchdown, leading to Elliott kicking an extra point to put the Eagles up 7 points. The first quarter would end with a score of 10-3. The second quarter saw the Steelers continuing to struggle against a stark Eagles defense. The Eagles would again move downfield with Brown and Gainwell, leading to Hurts passing to Smith for another touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles up 14 points. Wilson and the Steelers offense will finally find their rhythm with wide receiver Ben Skowronek and Wilson using his legs. Wilson would pass to tight end Pat Freiermuth for a touchdown, with Boswell's extra point putting them behind 7 points. The Eagles offense would go 3 and out on their next possession. Following the short series, Wilson and the Steelers offense will respond back, moving downfield, though short of a touchdown. Boswell would kick a 49-yard field goal to put them behind just 4 points. The first half would end in a score of 17-13. The third quarter saw the Eagles offense holding the ball for over 7 minutes that would eventually lead to Elliott kicking a 41-yard field goal to put the Eagles ahead 7 points. After a long series, the Steelers finally had an opportunity to respond back. This was stopped short when Wilson threw a ball to running back Najee Harris, but Harris mishandled the ball, causing a fumble. Slater recovered the ball. Hurts and the Eagles offense would again embark on a long series leading to a Hurts tush push into the end zone for another touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles up 14 points. With time running out, the Steelers looked for an answer against the Eagles defense, but will fall short, leading to a punt. The final 10.5 minutes of the game saw the Eagles maintaining possession of the ball, converting on 3rd and 4th downs and eating the clock. The game would end in a 27-13 win. This game not only gave the Eagles their first win over Russell Wilson in their 6-game series since he entered the league in 2014, but also continued the Steelers' losing streak at the Eagles' home stadium, as they haven't won since the 24th of October, 1965. This game also marked a franchise record as the 2024 Eagles won their 10th game in a row. The final games of the regular season would be against division rivals. The first saw the Eagles face off against the Washington Commanders, this time at their home stadium. This game had numerous implications on the line. With an Eagles win, they would clinch the NFC East for the 13th time and bring themselves that much closer to being the number 1 seed in the NFC. With a Commanders win, the race would continue between the two juggernaut teams, but it also meant Washington could clinch a playoff spot dependent on the Seahawks, Rams, and Falcons. The Commanders would get the ball first and start with a turnover on downs, despite being the best 4th down team. The Eagles will respond back with Barkley, Gainwell, and Hurts moving the ball downfield. Barkley would score the first touchdown of the game, leading to Elliott kicking an extra point to put the Eagles up 7 points. The Commanders would get the ball back and they would continue to struggle, with Robinson getting tackled by Carter, causing a fumble. Nolan Smith will recover the ball. With the gift of a fumble, the Eagles offense looked to score another touchdown. They would encounter trouble when Hurts scrambled for yards downfield and was tackled by linebackers Bobby Wagner and Frankie Luvu. Remember him? Hurts would exit the game due to a concussion, meaning the game rested on the shoulders of Kenny Pickett. Pickett would pick up where Hurts left off with a pass to A.J. Brown for another touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles up 14 points. The Commanders' struggles would continue with the 3 and out. Their struggles would not last long, as Pickett would throw a pass to A.J. Brown that was intercepted by Frankie Luvu. With the gift of the interception, Daniels would move the Commanders' offense downfield, leading to a touchdown from wide receiver Jamison Crowder. Gonzalez would kick an extra point to put the Commanders behind 7 points. The Eagles will respond back with Barkley getting the ball, including a 68-yard rushing touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 14 points. The first quarter would end in a 21-7 game. The second quarter saw the two teams get heated as Gardner Johnson and wide receiver De'Ami Brown were taunting each other, though Gardner Johnson would be the one to be penalized, despite him being the one getting his helmet shoved off. The Commander struggles would continue afterwards as Robinson received the snap, but DeJean and Dean would tackle him, causing a fumble. DeJean would also recover the ball. With the gift of the fumble, the Eagles' offense would not make much progress, leading to a punt. Washington would respond back with Daniels moving the offense downfield with De'Ami Brown gaining 51 yards. This led to a deep pass to star wide receiver Scary Terry McLaurin. Gonzalez's extra point kick put the Commanders behind just 7. Both teams would then gain no advantage over the other with punts, a Commanders interception, and Elliott missing a 56-yard field goal. The first half would end in a 21-14 game. The third quarter saw the Eagles getting the ball first, and after a short series, Elliott will redeem himself from the last field goal attempt and score on a 24-yarder to put the Eagles ahead 10 points. The Commanders would again turn the ball over following a fumble. Garner Johnson would again be penalized for taunting, leading to his ejection from the game. With the gift of the fumble, the Eagles' offense would move downfield, though short of a touchdown. Elliott would kick a 40-yard field goal to put the Eagles ahead 13 points. The third quarter would end in a 27-14 game. The fourth quarter began with Daniels passing to former Eagles wide receiver Olamide Zaccheaus for a touchdown. Gonzalez's kick put the Commanders behind 6 points. The Eagles' offense would struggle on their next possession, leading to a punt. With momentum on their side and a chance to take the lead, Daniels and the Commanders' offense would again move downfield, leading to yet another touchdown pass to Zaccheaus. Gonzalez's kick put the Commanders in the lead for the first time in the game by 1 point. Pickett and the Eagles' offense would respond back, coming up short of a touchdown, but Elliott would kick a 50-yard field goal to retake the lead by 2 points. The Commanders' offense returned on the field, but their drive was stopped short when Daniels threw a pass intended for wide receiver Luke McCaffrey that was intercepted by Blankenship. With the gift of the interception, the Eagles' offense would fail to make anything of it, except for another Elliott kick from 40 yards to put the Eagles ahead by 5 points. With less than 2 minutes left in the game and a shot at upsetting the juggernaut Eagles team, Daniels led the Commanders' offense downfield and taking as much time off the clock as possible. With 10 seconds remaining in the game, Daniels would pass to Crowder for a touchdown. They would succeed on a 2-point conversion to put them up 3 points. The Eagles special team unit would try to pull an improbable upset on the kick return, but veteran cornerback Avonte Maddox will fumble the ball. Despite turning the ball over 5 times, the Commanders would win the game with a score of 36-33. The loss to the Commanders not only broke the Eagles' 10-game win streak, but also put heavier doubts on the Eagles' hopes of home field advantage as they were in the race with the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions. The Eagles will face off against the Dallas Cowboys once again for their Week 17 matchup, returning for the second and final time of the season at Kelly Green. Both teams will be without their starting quarterbacks as Pickett and Rush will start for their respective teams. Additionally, the Cowboys will be without CeeDee Lamb. Though the Cowboys were eliminated from playoff contention following Washington's upset the week prior, they still sought to damage the Eagles going into the playoffs as much as possible since they had nothing else to lose. Except for another year of not making it past the divisional round. The Cowboys will start off with the ball, moving downfield with passes to wide receiver Brandon Cooks and Rico Dowdle. Their drive was stopped short when Rush threw a pass to Cooks that was intercepted by Garner Johnson that would be returned for a pick-6 touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles up 7 points, without the offense even touching the field. The Cowboys will respond back with the same formula as before, with wide receiver Cavante Turpin in the mix as well. This led to Rush passing to Tolbert for a Cowboys touchdown. Aubrey's extra point tied the game. Both teams would exchange punts to end the first quarter in a 7-7 game. The second quarter started with the Cowboys punt. On the Eagles' next possession, Pickett would move the offense downfield with Calcaterra, Brown, and Barkley. He would throw a deep pass to Smith for the first offensive touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles up 7 points. The Cowboys offense would return to the field, but only for a short time, as Rush would throw a pass to tight end Jake Ferguson. Linebacker Orrin Burks tackled him, forcing a fumble. Davis would recover the ball. With the gift of a turnover, the Eagles offense would move downfield, but fall short of a touchdown. Elliott would kick a 31-yard field goal to put the Eagles ahead 10 points. The Cowboys offense would again return to the field, but would again turn the ball over with yet another turnover that was again intended for Cooks and again intercepted by Garner Johnson. With the gift of the interception, Pickett threw a 50-yard bomb to Smith that was initially ruled a touchdown, but was overturned as Smith was ruled down at the 1-yard line. Pickett would tush push into the end zone for another Eagles touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 17 points. The first half would end in a score of 24-7. The third quarter started with the Eagles offense moving downfield, but short of a touchdown. Pickett will suffer a rib injury, meaning the fate of the Eagles offense rested on the shoulders of Tanner McKee. Elliott would kick a 26-yard field goal to put the Eagles ahead 20 points. The Cowboys offense would continue to struggle, forcing them to punt after a short series. McKee would lead the Eagles offense downfield, culminating in an A.J. Brown touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 27 points. The third quarter would end in a 34-7 game. The fourth quarter started with the Dallas fumble and DeJean recovering the fumbled ball. With the gift of a turnover, the Eagles marched downfield. McKee would throw a 25-yard pass to Smith for his second touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 34 points. Neither team would score the rest of the game, with both teams either missing a field goal or punting. The game would end in a 41-7 annihilation. This win meant many things for the Eagles. First, this was the first time the Eagles swept the Cowboys since 2011. Second, the Eagles clinched the NFC East division for the 13th time, 16th if you count the pre-Super Bowl era. Third, Saquon Barkley would surpass 2,000 rushing yards, becoming the 9th running back in NFL history to reach 2,000 yards in a season. Fourth, with the Vikings' victory over the Green Bay Packers, the Eagles were locked in as a number 2 seed in the playoffs, with the Detroit Lions maintaining the number 1 spot. Lastly, the honor of being the final Eagles player to win the NFC Player of the Week award went to C.J. Garner Johnson, having been responsible for 2 interceptions. Going into the final game of the regular season, the Eagles would face off against the New York Giants, playing in their all-black uniform. With Barkley close to surpassing Eric Dickerson's regular season rushing record, many fans debated whether or not he should start the final game of the season. Some argued that Barkley worked hard for it and he should cement his monumental season in history. Others remembered A.J. Brown being in the meaningless game the previous season and getting injured going into the playoffs and not wishing the same fate to happen to Barkley, given his importance to the Eagles offense. It was decided by Sirianni to rest key starters, Barkley being one of them. This eliminated any and all hopes of Barkley overtaking Dickerson's regular season record. The Giants would get the ball first, with new quarterback Drew Lock leading the offense. They would turn the ball over on their drive following a failed 4th down conversion. On the Eagles' possession, McKee would pass to Goddard to move the offense downfield, leading to McKee passing to rookie wide receiver Anaya Smith for his first NFL touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead by 7. The Giants would punt on their next possession following a short series. The first quarter would end in a 7-0 score. The second quarter began with Elliott missing a 39-yard field goal. Locke would not fare better with the Giants offense as they would again turn the ball over on downs. On the Eagles' next possession, McKee would find Dotson and rookie running back Will Shipley to move downfield. Though not a touchdown, Elliott would redeem himself on a 24-yard field goal to put the Eagles up 10 points. Both teams would punt the ball, leading to the end of the first half and the score of 10-0. The third quarter began with the Eagles offense turning the ball over on downs, following a short series. The Giants offense would move downfield with Neighbors, rookie running back Tyron Tracy Jr., and tight end Chris Mannertz. They will fall short of a touchdown, but starting kicker Graham Gano would kick a 38-yard field goal to put the Giants behind by 7. Both teams would exchange punts, leading to the end of the third quarter in a score of 10-3. The fourth quarter would begin with McKee passing to tight end E.J. Jenkins for his first career catch and touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 14 points. The Giants offense finally found a comfortable rhythm as Locke would move the offense downfield. He would pass the Neighbors for a 45-yard touchdown. Gano's extra point put the Giants behind 7 points. The Eagles would punt on their next possession following a short series. Locke would again lead the Giants offense downfield, but fell short of a touchdown. Gano would kick a 53-yard field goal to put the Giants behind 4 points. McKee will move the Eagles offense downfield, and they too will fall short of a touchdown. Elliott will kick a 32-yard field goal to put the Eagles ahead 7 points. With less than a minute remaining, Locke set his sights on a potential upset against the backup Eagles roster. This fell short when he threw a pass intended for wide receiver Jalen Hyatt, but was intercepted by Sidney Brown. The game would end in a 20-13 game. The Eagles would finish their regular season with a 14-3 record and go into the playoffs as the number 2 seed. With a rested starting team and hopes of a redemption restored, confidence ran high amongst fans and players. As the number 2 seed, the Eagles would face off against this number 7 seed Green Bay Packers. While many fans looked at the beginning of the season as a show of confidence in the Eagles' victory, others pointed toward the last time the Packers faced off against an NFC East team as a number 2 seed. In the previous season's playoffs, the Dallas Cowboys faced off against the Green Bay Packers after having an amazing season. Many saw Dallas advancing forward ahead of the Packers, given no number 2 seed had ever been defeated by a number 7 seed. This changed when the Packers faced Dallas in their home stadium they haven't lost in all regular season. Dallas would end up getting dominated by the Green Bay Packers with a score of 48-32. Not only was this the first time a number 2 seed lost to a number 7 seed, but Dallas would continue their streak of not appearing in the NFC Championship game. Despite this, the Eagles were looking to make a comeback playoff run following their disastrous last appearance, especially with the return of Hurts. With the stakes higher, the Eagles and Packers were set to face off against one another. This time, the loser season ends. The game would begin with cornerback Keyshawn Nixon getting the ball on the kickoff. He would be tackled by Burks, who caused Nixon to fumble the ball. Rookie linebacker Jeremiah Trotter Jr. would recover the ball. With the gift of a turnover, Hurts would make his presence remembered as he would throw to Dotson for an 11-yard touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 7 points. Both teams would exchange punts on their next possessions. Following a second Packers punt, the Eagles offense would move downfield, but fall short of a touchdown. Elliott would kick a 31-yard field goal to put the Eagles ahead 10 points. The first quarter would end in a 10-0 score. The second quarter started with more misfortune for the Packers as Love would throw a pass intended for wide receiver Dontavion Wicks, but was intercepted by Slay. Despite the interception, the Eagles did not score on their next possession and would punt. Neither team would score the remainder of the second quarter, with Love throwing another interception to Bond and the Eagles punting. The first half would end in a score of 10-0. The third quarter would begin with the Eagles punting. The Packers offense would move downfield with Wicks getting the ball. Though short of a touchdown, kicker Brandon McManus would kick a 26-yard field goal to put the Packers behind 7 points. The Eagles offense would respond back with Hurts passing to Smith downfield. He would then throw a short pass to Goddard for a 24-yard touchdown. Elliott's extra point was missed, putting the Eagles ahead 13 points. The third quarter would end in a 13-3 game. The fourth quarter would begin with Jacobs rushing into the end zone for a Packers touchdown. McManus' extra point put the Packers behind 6 points. The Eagles offense would return to the field and eat as much of the clock as possible. This led to Elliott kicking a 30-yard field goal to put the Eagles ahead 9 points. The Packers offense returned to the field and turned the ball over on downs, with the defense holding up. The Eagles offense would again move downfield on their next possession, but fell short of a touchdown. Elliott would kick a 32-yard field goal to put the Eagles ahead 12 points. With hopes of advancing in the playoffs dwindling, Love would move his offense downfield, though this fell short when he threw a deep pass to wide receiver Bo Melton that was intercepted by Quinyon Mitchell for his first interception of his rookie season. This sealed an Eagles win in the score of 22-10. Like many games during the regular season, this game was a defensive and offensive highlight as the Eagles won the turnover battle, having turned the ball over to their side 4 times with 3 interceptions and a fumble recovery. Hurts also managed to not throw a single interception the whole game. The Eagles defense would unfortunately lose Dean as he tore his left patellar tendon and would miss the remainder of the playoffs. The next week saw the Eagles facing off against the number 4 seed Rams, following their win over the number 5 seed Minnesota Vikings. With the Eagles and Rams game set up for the divisional round matchup, many looked to their first meeting in the regular season with Barkley's impressive record-breaking rushing against the defense to win the game for the Eagles. There was, however, a catch to this matchup. The forecast called for snow during the game. While their first encounter was in a domed environment, how would the Eagles do in an outdoor stadium, with the weather being a factor? The game began with the Eagles getting the ball first. Hurts would find Goddard and Barkley to move downfield before rushing 44 yards for a touchdown. Elliott's extra point was missed, putting the Eagles ahead 6 points. Stafford and the Rams offense would respond back with passes to Williams and Nakua. They would eventually score on a short pass from Stafford to tight end Tyler Higbee. Carty's extra point put the Rams ahead by 1. Both teams would exchange punts on their next possession, with both defenses making their presence known. Following a Rams punt, Hurts and the Eagles offense would move downfield before Barkley got the ball and ran for a 62-yard touchdown. It was at this point snow began to fall. Elliott would redeem himself on the extra point kick to put the Eagles ahead 6 points. The first quarter would end in a 13-7 score. The second quarter saw the Rams stop short of a touchdown, but Carty would kick a 30-yard field goal to put the Rams behind 3 points. Both teams would again punt on their next possessions, from both defenses making a stand. The second quarter would end in a 13-10 score. The third quarter would begin with the Rams getting the ball and punting after a short series. The Eagles would not fare much better on their next possession. Following an Eagles punt, Stafford would move the offense downfield with Kupp and Williams. They would stop short of a touchdown, but Carty would kick a 34-yard field goal to tie the game. Hurts and the Eagles offense would respond back, moving downfield with Goddard and Barkley. They too would stop short of a touchdown, but Elliott would kick a 44-yard field goal to put them ahead by 3. The Rams would punt the ball on their next possession. This would not mean they would go without scoring, as the Eagles offense was in their end zone. The Rams defense would sack Hurts for a safety to put the Rams behind by 1. The third quarter would end in a 16-15 game. The fourth quarter began with Williams fumbling the ball from a Carter tackle. Rodgers would recover the ball and return it for 50 yards. Despite the gift of a fumble, the Eagles offense would not score a touchdown, but Elliott would kick a 23-yard field goal to put the Eagles ahead 4 points. The Rams would return to the field with another fumble as Stafford was sacked by Nolan Smith. Bond would recover the ball. The Eagles offense again will fall short of a touchdown, and Elliott will kick a 37-yard field goal to put the Eagles ahead 7 points. The Rams would punt on their next possession. Following the punt, Hurts would give the ball to Barkley, who would run for a 78-yard touchdown. Elliott's extra point was no good, putting the Eagles ahead 13 points. Many thought this would seal the game for the Birds. That was until Stafford and the Rams offense moved meticulously downfield. Stafford would pass to tight end Colby Parkinson for a touchdown. Carty's extra point put the Rams behind 6 points. The Eagles offense would not score on their next drive and punt the ball, giving Stafford and the Rams offense a chance to pull an upset. Stafford found Nakua, Robinson, and Kupp downfield in a race against time. Stafford would get the ball, and just when it seemed that the Eagles' fairy tale season would end, Jalen Carter would sack Stafford for a 9-yard loss, making it that much more difficult to score. With one final chance to score a touchdown or gain a new set of downs, Stafford would again face pressure from Carter and threw the ball well over Nakua's head to seal an Eagles win in a 28-22 anxiety-stricken game. The win for the Eagles is thanks to the defense, especially Jalen Carter, who not only sacked Stafford, but also pressured Stafford into throwing a miscalculated ball that could have potentially sent the Rams to the next round. Regardless, the Eagles are moving on to the championship game for the second time in 2 years, against a familiar opponent. Prior to the matchup between the Eagles and Rams, the number 6 seed Washington Commanders faced off against the number 1 seed Detroit Lions. The Lions were seeking their second consecutive NFC Championship appearance, having fallen short to the 49ers in the previous playoffs, while the Commanders were seeking their first championship appearance since 1991. The same year, they won the Super Bowl. The Commanders defeated the juggernaut team that was the Detroit Lions in the score of 41-31. The Commanders and Eagles will meet for the third time this season in a showdown for the ages. Additionally, this game was the second meeting between Washington and Philadelphia in the playoffs, with their first happening in the 1990 NFC wildcard game, where Washington beat Philadelphia 20-6. This was also the first NFC Championship game to have divisional opponents since the Rams and 49ers in the 2021-2022 playoffs, and the first involving teams from the NFC East since the New York Giants and the Washington Redskins in 1986 and 1987. Fun fact: winners of conference championship games involving divisional opponents tend to win the Super Bowl. The two teams historically who that did not apply to, coincidentally, were the 1980s Eagles and the 1972 Washington Redskins. The game will begin with Daniels moving the Commanders' offense downfield, holding onto the ball for a lengthy period of time, thanks to Ertz, Zaccheaus, and McLaurin. They would stop short of a touchdown, leading to Gonzalez kicking a 34-yard field goal. The Eagles' offense would take the field and immediately make a statement as Barkley would get the ball and score on a 60-yard touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead by 4. Daniels and the Commanders' offense would return back to the field. Daniels would pass to De'Ami Brown, who would be tackled by Bond and DeJean, with the former punching the ball out and causing a fumble. Blankenship would recover the ball. With the gift of the turnover, Hurts would pass to Goddard, Smith, and Brown to move downfield. He would then give the ball to Barkley for another touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead by 11. The first quarter would end in a 14-3 score. The second quarter would begin with Gonzalez kicking a 46-yard field goal to put the Commanders behind 8 points. The Eagles would get the ball back and move downfield, but fall short of a touchdown. Elliott would kick a 54-yard field goal, but would miss wide right. With a missed field goal, Daniels and the Commanders' offense found an opportunity to strike back. Daniels would find McLaurin on a short pass, and he would run for 36 yards for a touchdown. They would attempt a 2-point conversion, but would fail, putting them behind by 2 points. Hurts and the Eagles' offense would move downfield with Hurts finding Brown and Barkley. Thanks to a DPI penalty, the Eagles would move to the 1-yard line for Hurts to tush push into the end zone for a touchdown. They would attempt a 2-point conversion, but would fail, putting them ahead 8 points. On the kickoff, running back Jeremy McNichols would get the ball and run for 17 yards before being tackled by Shipley, causing a fumble. Gainwell will recover the ball. With the gift of a turnover, Hurts and the Eagles' offense would move downfield. Hurts would find Brown for a 4-yard touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles up 15 points. Daniels and the Commanders' offense would return to the field. They would not score a touchdown on their drive, but with time nearly out and needing points, Gonzalez would kick a 42-yard field goal to put the Commanders behind 12 points. The second quarter would end in a 27-15 score. The third quarter would begin with both teams punting. Following a Commanders punt, Hurts would find Brown and Goddard to move the offense downfield. Hurts would then rush into the end zone for a touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 19 points. Daniels and the Commanders' offense would respond back, moving downfield with Ertz and Robertson. Daniels would rush for 10 yards for a touchdown. They would go for a 2-point conversion, which would be good, to put them behind 11 points. The Eagles would punt the ball on their next possession. The Commanders' offense returned to the field. Daniels would pass to Eckler, who would be tackled by Burks, causing a fumble. Bond would recover the ball. The third quarter would end in a 34-23 score. In the final quarter of the game, the Eagles' offense would move downfield. At the goal line followed a series of penalties from Lubu, trying to perfectly time a stop on the tush push. The act became so egregious that the referee announced that they would award the score to the Eagles if the behavior continued. Hurts would finally score on the tush push. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 18 points. With time running out, the Commanders were searching for an answer to score and stay in the game. They would not find it as the Eagles' defense prevented the Commanders' offense from converting on the fourth down, turning the ball back over to the Eagles. On their next possession, Barkley and Goddard would move the Eagles' offense downfield, leading to Barkley scoring a touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 25 points. With hopes of a comeback dwindling, the Commanders' offense would need to score quick, fast, and in a hurry. They would lose their chance as Daniels threw a deep pass to McLaurin that was intercepted by Mitchell for his second interception of his rookie season. To add insult to injury, on the Eagles' next possession, Hurts would give the ball to Shipley, who would run for 58 yards. Pickett would take over for Hurts and give the ball to Shipley to score his first touchdown in the NFL. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 32 points. With no hopes of a comeback, the Commanders ran simple plays to end their misery. The game would end in a 55-23 domination. For the third time in 7 years, the Eagles were heading to the Super Bowl for their fifth appearance. This game saw the most points scored by the winning team in a conference championship game in NFL history. With this win, Hurts also broke a quarterback curse that had 18 others since 1994 who made their debut in the Super Bowl and lost to never make it back. With the AFC Championship game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills the following day, many predicted the Chiefs winning the game for a variety of reasons, including referee help to devil magic. Regardless of the reasoning, the Chiefs did in fact win and were heading to the Super Bowl for their third consecutive year, seeking their third victory in a row in what the team was prepared to trademark as the three-peat. Super Bowl 59 was a rematch from Super Bowl 57 just 2 years prior in what was a slugfest between the two clubs, though controversy struck with a holding call against cornerback James Bradbury, which helped the Chiefs run the clock down and score on a field goal to win the game over the Eagles. The pressure was on both teams. For the Eagles, this was a shot at redemption, a chance to prove to themselves that they are better than the Kansas City Chiefs and that Super Bowl 57 was a fluke. For the Chiefs, this was a chance at history, a chance to cement themselves as the greatest franchise ever by doing what no other team has ever done, led by Patrick Baby Goat Mahomes and former Eagles head coach Andy Big Red Reid. History, however, was not on the side of the Eagles. For one, their jersey colors tend to favor the away team. The Eagles were wearing their home jerseys. Additionally, Super Bowl rematches usually ended with the prior winning team winning again. The last team to reverse this superstition was the 2017 Philadelphia Eagles when they defeated the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 52, having lost to them previously in Super Bowl 39. Super Bowl 59 came and the hype was massive. Two talented teams going at it for the Lombardi Trophy once again. This is also Barkley and DeGene's birthday. Both teams were introduced by their respective announcers, and the Chiefs won the coin toss. They deferred possession in the second half, meaning the Eagles will receive the opening kickoff. With kicker Harrison Butker kicking the ball to the Eagles, Super Bowl 59 was underway. Both teams would exchange punts on their initial possessions. Following a Chiefs punt, Hurts would find Goddard to move downfield with Dodson nearly scoring a touchdown, but fell short at the 1 yard line. Hurts would tush push into the end zone for the first score of the game. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 7 points. The Chiefs' offense would return to the field to not much of an impact and would punt the ball back. The first quarter would end in a 7-0 score. The second quarter would begin with Hurts throwing a pass to Brown in the end zone that was intercepted by safety Brian Cook. Despite the gift of a turnover, the Chiefs' offense would go 3-and-out and punt the ball back to the Eagles. Hurts would move the offense downfield with Brown and Barkley, though short of a touchdown. Elliott would kick a 48-yard field goal to put the Eagles ahead 10 points. Following the field goal would be the start of Mahomes' nightmares. Facing constant pressure on their drive, Mahomes would be sacked not once, but twice. On the next play, Mahomes would throw a pass intended for veteran wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins, but was intercepted by DeJean, who would return the ball for a pick-6 touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 17 points. Mahomes and the Chiefs offense would face further torment from the Eagles defense as they would stop running back Isaiah Rodgers as well as sack Mahomes for the third time of the game. The Eagles offense would not fare better as the Chiefs defense continued keeping Barkley under wraps. Despite the Chiefs defense making an impact, Mahomes would put them back on the field as he threw another interception caught by Bond. This was something he predicted himself.
It's coming. I'm gonna get one.
With the gift of the interception, the Eagles offense would strike quickly with Hurts passing to A.J. Brown for a touchdown. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 24 points. Mahomes and the Chiefs offense would still not have an answer to scoring against a staunch Eagles defense and would punt the ball. The first half would end in a score of 24-0. The third quarter would begin with Mahomes trying to get the offense moving downfield, but would be sacked twice more for 5 sacks of the game. The Chiefs would punt the ball. Hurts and the Eagles offense would move downfield, but short of a touchdown. Elliott would kick a 29-yard field goal to put the Eagles ahead 27 points. Facing a never-before-seen team this season, the Chiefs attempted to get themselves in check to get on board. They will fall short when Mahomes threw to Hopkins on 4th down that was deflected by Maddox, turning the ball back over to the Eagles. The Eagles were ahead 27 points, so many anticipated they would run the ball to run the clock out. But Hurts had another idea. He kept the ball and threw a deep pass to Devontae Smith for a touchdown in what was called the dagger. Elliott's extra point put the Eagles ahead 34 points. Mahomes and the Chiefs offense would move desperately downfield with rookie sensation Xavier Worthy and star tight end Travis Kelce. They would finally score when Mahomes passed to Worthy for a touchdown. They would attempt a 2-point conversion but would fail, putting them behind 28 points. The third quarter would end in a 34-6 score. The final quarter of the season would start with Hurts giving the ball to Barkley, but the Chiefs defense would continue to smother him and keep him from advancing. Elliott would kick a 48-yard field goal to put the Eagles ahead 31 points. Mahomes and the Chiefs offense will return, seeking to score again. This was stopped short when Mahomes was stripped of the ball and sacked for the 6th time in the game. Milton Williams, who caused the fumble, also recovered the ball. Hurts would again give Barkley the ball, but again, the Chiefs defense would contain Barkley. Elliott would kick a 50-yard field goal to put the Chiefs ahead 34 points. It was at this point Sirianni decided to take the starters out of the game, something Hurts was not a fan of.
Probably a hold on. Are you sure? We're done? Yeah.
Mahomes and the Chiefs offense would move downfield, leading to a pass to Hopkins for a touchdown. They would go for a 2-point conversion and would succeed, putting them behind 26 points. Pickett would enter the game as Eagles players began to celebrate their victory before the 2-minute warning. Pickett and the backup offense would turn the ball over on downs. Mahomes and the Chiefs offense returned to the field and scored on a 50-yard touchdown from Mahomes to Worthy. Hopkins would score the final touchdown of the season on the 2-point conversion to put the Chiefs behind 18 points. With Pickett kneeling down 3 times, the Eagles would end the massacre of the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 59 in a score of 40-22. Jalen Hurts was named Super Bowl MVP, having completed 17 of 22 passes for 221 yards, 1 interception, and 2 touchdowns. Barkley would end his debut season with the Eagles breaking numerous records, including the combined regular season and postseason rushing record with 2,504 yards in 20 games. Vic Fangio's defense was yet another example of the saying, defense wins championships. thank you for watching this video. This was meant to come out way sooner than it did. Through constant training in the Army and having to rewrite the script numerous times, I finally got it to where I wanted it to be. I will say though, this team was exciting to watch this past season. I had my doubts going into this season, especially after the Tampa Bay game, because in my mind, I've been a fan for so long. I've seen the Eagles lose games that they should have won, and it just seemed too good to be true. I was glad to see them turn the season around, especially Hurts. Brown and Smith are two gems I hope stay with the Eagles until they decide to hang up their cleats. Barkley was that missing piece that the team needed in Super Bowl 57. The defense would have still been more suspect than the accused criminal, but I'd feel more confident of a win with Barkley being on the team back in Super Bowl 57. But without that loss 2 years ago, there would have been no chip on their shoulder to put belt, paddle, and switch to ass against the Chiefs. But again, I will say, as much junk as I talk, I still give my respect to Patrick Mahomes. He's a hell of a player, and there's a reason he's heavily compared to Tom Brady right now, even if he did lose to the GOAT himself and Hurts in the Super Bowl. Same with the Commanders. Division rivalry aside, it's about time Washington got a long-term quarterback. They've been through it the last few years. Maybe next couple of years it'll be Eagles and Commanders and not Eagles and Cowboys. And unless New York pulls some miracles this offseason, they'll be in last place in the NFC East for years to come. I can honestly say I'm grateful to have seen 4 Eagles Super Bowls, and they've won 2 of them in my lifetime. That's more than any recent Cowboys fan can say. Shout out to Joey Shakes. I've kept up with Eagles games because of his live commentary. Lord Brunson as well was another creator that kept me hyped through the season. So thank you to both of you. Other than that, we'll see how the Eagles respond to the win after the retirement of the great Brandon Graham and losing key defensive players. In Vic we trust. Hopefully the players picked up in the draft can be a great asset to the team. And with that being said, thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves. Make good decisions. And have a wonderful rest of your day.
For the second time, the Vince Lombardi Trophy is headed to Philadelphia. Eagles fly in Super Bowl 59.